Okay, so in the chapter about appearance, I was really intrigued on your view of modesty. So I
Mhm.
want you to share the story about you interacting with the girl at the conference and how she commented on your appearance and you kind of talked about this broader culture of competition and how
Mhm.
intentionality and how we look and dress can be a form of compassion. Can you just like share
Mhm.
that story?
Yeah, so I was at a church event and I was dressed nice. I think everyone was kind of dressed really nice and looking put together. Like, you know how women are. Like we show up to these spaces and we dress for other women, is how my husband often puts it. I'll buy
Yes.
something. He'll be like, that's not for me, that's for other women. And so we're all looking cute. And this friend of mine shows up and she has just had, I think I can't remember, second or third baby, just had a baby and is exhausted, in those early days when you have a newborn, when you're just not getting any sleep. And it's like all you can do to get out of the house. And so she's there and she's looking tired and she looks at me and she looks at the other ladies and she says, "You look so cute." But then she kind of sighs and says something like, "You always look so cute," in a way that I could tell she was saying it in a way that it was a bar that she had not cleared. It was like a standard that she had not met. And in that moment, I just had this thought of, gosh, what does hospitality look like for women when we're creating this environment where you feel like you have to look a certain way in order to belong? And that really gets at the biblical understanding of modesty, which growing up I was taught had much more to do with, the length of your skirt or your neckline, whether or not you're covering up all the parts that you need to be covering. And there is some extent that that is true, but only so much as the way that scripture really talks about modesty has more to do with wealth. And when Paul talks about it, he's more referring to, are you, wearing really expensive jewelry or, signaling to people how much wealth that you have, that is immodest to be intentionally extravagant in a way that shows yourself off. And so I think that there is, like I said, there's an extent to which if you are flaunting the goods, so to speak, that is a cousin of that, but it doesn't really get at the actual context in the New Testament has much more to do with appearance and wealth and trying to put out like a certain image of look at what I
Status.
have. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And I think that can be a barrier ultimately to people feeling welcome in the church is if it's not so much I walk in and people are dressed immodestly. The issue is I walk in and it looks like everybody has it together except for me. And that matter of hospitality and love is really important as we think about appearance.
Yeah.